Kasisi Agricultural Training Centre, as the name suggests, is a centre for the training of the farmers, government extension officers, NGOs, and other stakeholders in sustainable organic agriculture or agroecology.
We grow crops organically on a large scale. These are different crops like soybean, we grow sunflower, we grow maize, we grow oats, and also green manure crops.
Sustainable organic agriculture is a form of agriculture that takes care of the environment, also looks at the economic viability and the social justice, the socially just part of it.
It simply means that agro is farming, ecology, we talk about nature. So when you combine the two, it simply means that it's a type of farming whereby when we are doing the farming, we have to take into account nature. We have to respect nature.
The whole program at Kasisi Agricultural Training Centre, or KATC, has evolved over time. So we started, as I mentioned, on what we call the industrialized model of agriculture, shifting in the 1980s to organic agriculture, or another term would be agroecology. And since 1990, we've been, all of our trainings and all of our production at Kasisi Agricultural Training Centre has been based on the principles of organic agriculture.
Our production starts from here. This is our composting site. We make compost, and when the compost is ready, we take it to the field.
We try to recycle whatever we're producing. So for example, we have the animals, so the manure then is recycled, put back onto the fields to grow the crops. And then the stovers are left on the fields, and let the biology work on it and become part of the soil.
These are materials that are collected within the farm. We talk of pasture fields. When we cut the hay, we feed it to livestock. The animals will tramp on the grass, urinate, and drop dung. And then after some time, that material is collected from the crows and is brought here, is put in windrows. And then we start turning it. After 8 weeks to 12 weeks, our compost would be ready and is taken to the field. We apply it.
We also make another type of fertilizer, and this is called bokashi. And the bokashi is a Japanese name describing, pre-cooking of the ingredients. You partially decompose the ingredients that you have on the farm, and because what you want is for them to change in the state they are into a fertilizer state where you'll be able to apply them in the field. So, for instance, you have the beans peelings, which is a residue from the beans after harvesting it, and also you have maybe cowpea peelings, and also you have dry grass, you have also the manure. I like always using a mixture of manure. For instance, you get cattle, you get goat, and you get chicken manure, you do a mixture. Why? Because these manures have different contents of nutrients, and when you do a mixture, you are just improving on the product you are going to make. And then you bring together all these ingredients, pile them nicely in a heap. You need water, And this is to make sure that you create a very good condition for the microbiology to work on these inorganic materials. Sometimes we also add value to the water. We can use molasses, because in molasses you have glucose, and this glucose is providing energy to the microbiology to do even more better work for yourself in terms of fermenting these ingredients that you use when you are making bokashi. Because bokashi takes very few days to be ready, not like compost. This one takes about maximum of 15 days.
Due to heavy application of chemical fertilizer previously, our soils were extensively damaged in terms of elements, in terms of biology, in terms of acidity. If you apply bokashi in 3 consecutive years, it means that the lives of the soil can be brought back to its original states.
Look at the cost of a bag of fertilizer now. It's almost 1,000 kwacha per bag. We collect the local available resources, these material, crop residues or crop wastage, and transform them into fertilizer. When we apply compost in the field, we are actually not feeding the crop, we are feeding the soils.
Apart from just improving the organic content in your field, it improves the whole structure of your soil within the shortest period of time. And when we talk about structure, we are talking about good aeration in your field. You look at a good soil texture in your field, which will allow freely movement of nutrients and movement of water for your plants to benefit.
Our major interest there is not to feed the plant. Our major interest there is to feed the soil, so that the soil can feed the plant, and the plant can feed ourselves.
So there's certainly a direct link between having a healthy soil and having a healthy population. So healthy soil meaning a lot of diversity in biology, producing healthy plants which produce healthy fruit.
A farmer who is actively involved in chemical fertilizer, it means that his interest is to feed the plant and neglect the soil.
Chameti using manure ya kusafuna kuika mu fertilizer kuchitira kuti mubiri musankhale chemical ili yonse monga fertilizer ndaba iya ivi mukaiva using aisevi ninacho manure yakuti chosa kuvinyama nyama za mezidiwa futi manje fertilizer sitizoti wamapangana chani.
It's also more sustainable environmentally because with the industrialized model of farming, there's maybe 30 or 40% of the urea or the nitrogen that's applied to a crop is taken up by the crop. The rest is all goes into our water system, so it causes a lot of pollution. So that's certainly not sustainable.
Another method that we use to supply nutrients to the plants is the extracts. This is extracting nutrients from ingredients like the manure, and this is dry fresh manure, the manure which is not decomposed. Then you put it in a bag like this one here, and what you do is you bring a drum, 210 liter drum capacity, you fill it up with water up to almost, when you reach almost filling it up to the full, you leave about 10 centimeters. When you shake the bag, you realize that the water color is changing. That is telling you that nutrients have been extracted from the bag, and now it is added to the water. So it means nutrients and microbiology goes into the water. And this exercise takes only about 7 days. There are some people who leave it up to 14 days. It's fine, but within 7 days it should be ready for use in the field. And this is another type of liquid manure, but only that this one is a bit different from the extracts, because this one, it takes about 30 days to be ready. And to make it, it involves a process of fermentation, but without air. This is like anaerobic fermentation. And what you need is very basic ingredients that you actually find on your farm. And the number one major ingredient is the fresh cow dung, very fresh cow dung. And this is really fresh cow dung, just dropped from the cow. You pick it early from the stables, and then you get about, in a 500 liter of water like this one, you can use about 80 kgs of fresh cow dung, 80 kgs of fresh cow dung. And then you bring that fresh cow dung, come and dissolve it in a drum or in a barrel like this one. Then you put in water and dissolve it. Now, there are other things that you need to put in a bioliquid fertilizer, like the milk, because in milk we have proteins, we have amino acids, we know what amino acids are, and they really provide us with plant nutrients that the plants need very much. And also, milk is also food for the microorganisms during the fermentation. The first days you are going to leave your fresh cow dung in a barrel.
So literally, there's nothing that's wasted on the farm. We are recycling what we are producing. And you know, being an organic institution, it's quite difficult to get some materials for compost from outside because we don't know what they use on their farms. So we try by all means to internalize the material that we use in our production.
So organic farming, there is no distraction because we are using the nature to produce. For instance, a cow eats grass and that grass is turned into organic manure which is fed to the crop. There is no distraction.
A crop like a sunflower, we can also take it for extraction of edible oil. Then the waste, that is called a cake, sunflower cake. From there, it can also be integrated into our livestock feed, so that at least our feeds, our animals can also benefit.
When we look at our soils, from the time we started organic to date, our soils has been improving gradually. When we opened up these fields, the first crop that we planted was soybeans. And then when we harvested, the yield that we got was 800 kgs per hectare. And we started applying this compost in our fields. With time, we saw an increase in the yields from 800 kgs to about 4.5 metric tons per hectare.
So everybody would say that if you go organically, your yields, your output will be less. That could be very true in Europe and North America where the yields are very high. But here the yields are so low that what we find is that we can double to quadruple yields by going organically as compared to using fertilizer. And basically, the first thing is that you're adding more organic matter to the soil, and so the soil then is able to hold moisture when there's more rain, and then in a drought, the moisture is released slowly to the plants, so the plants don't suffer as much in a drought.
Normally you see that there is a higher yield on the side of the conventional agriculture. But now, when you enlarge your vision and you take into consideration that with organic agriculture we are building up the soils over the years, then actually the image changes, and then you will find that even organic farmers, they can yield more. So we have here organic farmers who harvest maize between 10 to 20 tons a hectare. And these are amounts of maize yields which commercial farmers can only dream about.
Youth, like garden, timapezamo maningi, timatigulisa ndiwezi. For a long time, sometimes ngatitalima so inkala 2-3 months tingogulisa. Mwanda kuti manure ilengesa kuti izikula bwino nokula msanga. Bakasisi vanatithandiza kuchita ivi vonse. Ndiamene nikamboti ndiabe vanatiphunzisa ku using manure. Niuza kona vinango monga amene kai vinango vanthu ni vaulesi monga voenda kuma training. vakasisi vatithandiza maningi.
We still have an extension branch at KATC, and the extension branch are working directly with the farmers, mainly in Chongwe and Rufunza districts, which are closer to Kasisi.
We focus really on the soil fertility management. For a crop to grow well, it has to have good soil fertility. And what do you need to have that good soil fertility? That's one thing we talk about. We also talk about the soil and water conservation. What technologies are you going to use to conserve the water for your plant to grow very well? And this is what we did talk about when we are with the farmers. We are also looking at the pest, weed, and disease management. Of course, when you talk of agroecology and you are talking about non-use of any synthetic chemicals, what would you do? You are not going to stop the pests attacking your crop. So there are principles, there are practices around that. So in Chongwe, we have 3 camps for a project called Seed and Knowledge Initiative. Chainda Camp, Kapete A Camp, Kapete B Camp, and we have also 3 in Rufunza. In Rufunza, we have Nyangwena Camp, Ndubulula Camp, and Sinjera camps. And in these camps, that's where most of our efforts are directed. And hopefully, we are able to upscale and outscale from the 6 camps that we are working with in Rufunza and Chongwe districts. So in total, we are talking of 50 in each camp. And those 50 will also have other beneficiaries that come in. So it goes to about 150 to 250 people.
When we started this project, we were about 50 farmers. So right up now, we are more than 200 farmers. And within my area here, there are so many farmers who have been trained here. Take for instance, the past 2 years, I trained more than 200 farmers. So I managed to change the community where I come from within here, and even other traditional leaders that have also been integrated into agroecological practice. I think this is how far we've gone in terms of agroecology.
Green manure is one of the things that we encourage. It's one of the practices that we encourage for the farmers. And you've seen different crops that are being grown by the farmers. And these are the crops that are grown mainly to be knocked down or plowed under to add soil organic matter and any other nutrients. So you can see the weight soil organic matter still comes. So as much as possible, what are those plants that can add a lot of soil organic matter and other nutrients for the other crop that is going to grow? We talk about soybeans. For example, we talk about, if I say soybeans, let me just talk of legumes. But the possible and the most accepted and that I've seen in the field when I'm with the farmers, green manure crops that we grow are sun hemp, velvet beans, cowpeas, for example. These are capable of high biomass. They also be used for adding the nitrogen in the soils. They can be a good mulch, and then incorporated in the soil, they add more organic matter to your soils.
You find that other crops like the legumes, they are able to put back nitrogen in the soil. So if different types of crops can be grown within a same area, it means that in terms of soil fertility, improving soil texture, it can be done.
If I reflect from the 90s, the late 90s, when we started promoting sustainable organic agriculture, we had a lot of resistance, a lot. And those farmers that were quick to adopt the technologies that we promote, we found out that the yields go high, they have a diversity of food in their homes. And when you have a diversity of food, is a lot that comes along with that diversity. It's nutrition, balanced nutrition. They also have income, and seed, which is seed sovereignty. If you recall quite well, one of the farmers that we visited that has put a community seed bank, you can see that there's a variety, more than 20 different types of crop seed.
Tabwera kukuti iyi ni seed bank. Kodi balimi banzatu kapena balimi banzanga batandizika bwanji pano. Wamenafuna mbeu iyi sitigulisana ife ai. Akabwera akabati nifuna rapoko, nimtapurira kapena mkapu, nampasa naye ndasha achita multiply chani seed. Then akakorora nzapempa kuti anipaseko kanene tumakapu tubiri nibwezere mchani seed bank. Chitira winango naye azabwera chaka chama wakamba kuti nifuna chani mbeu. Mwajisanzo rapoko. Kuna nuna tili 4 chabe farmers amene bali akwanisa kulima rapoko. So iyi rapoko inasala ni last year. Nikalipo korora iyi ni mbeu yamene nzaisunga kapena for 2-3 years. Si ora. Even 10 to 20 years. Si diona tudoyo. So that's why ma farmers banzanga timapasana mbeu. Then now bakalima pano pamene kamba kuti seed bank. Baene robweresa pano pa seed bank ine nisunge. Then wamenafuna abwera tenga mbeu yamene pempha tampasa. Anaenda shanga. Ichi ni chimphaka cha mbeu za makono. Zamene zinasochera, zamene sizipezeka chipezeke masiku ano. So ife tieso sakira zija mbeu nozibweresa kuti zilime tichite multiply mbeu ipezeke nkhali yambiri.
Yambiri maseeds hapa still mana fertilizer. So hiyo fertilizer chamene stilimira nayo ndangatitika mo manyowa like ya ng'ombe, mbuzi, nkuku, whatever. Tikaikamo ya pasa kuona mubiri kunkhala wanthanzi. Kaya mulibe chemical iliyonse. Like mumunda this year ngati nalimamo sunflower. Sinifunika futi next year ngaike mu sunflower. Ufunika nisinthe mbeu ngaike mu mbeu inango. Meaning kuti tuja tudoyo situngalowe muri ivi vindu.
If you have, for example, just maize, and a pest that attacks maize comes in, it will wipe out your maize. All your maize will be gone. But if you have finger millet, you have pale millet, you have cowpeas, you have that kind of diversity, and the mixture in terms of planting helps to reduce the risk of pest and disease attack.
So in the field we have some vegetables like mpilu. It acts as a repellent because of the smell. Onion also helps to control these pests.
There's also another branch, what we call seed coating. Under seed coating, it simply means that this is a traditional seed preservation. You remember during the olden days, people, they never had all those what you call agro shop service, but they had their own way of preserving the seeds. So this is what you call seed coatings. So under seed coatings, we use some ingredients such as 1, we use ash. Number 2, we use what you call rock dust. Number 3, we use molasses. Number 4, we use charcoal dust.
In 1995, then we started offering 5-day courses in various elements of farming organically, and so these courses were to do with sustainable organic agriculture, organic vegetable production, beekeeping, agroforestry, dairying, all based on the principles of organic. So we've trained about maybe 15,000 people on these 5-day courses over the years. And then January of this year, we started an online diploma in agroecology. So we have 45 students on this first year. And at the moment, they're here at Kasisi on their residential part of the training.
Kasisi has been working with the government through the Ministry of Agriculture, and because of that relationship that Kasisi thought of, firstly to start with camp extension officers who have a certificate in agriculture.
Many of our farmers have come to understand, but we thought that going deeper, further than Chongwe, Rufunsa, Chisamba, Lusaka, and Chibombo, will need to train other people. And that's how we made a call to all government extension officers. Some have come from Chipata, Monze, Kapiri, Kabwe, even Copper Belt. These are going to be our ambassadors to go and talk about agroecology.
I decided to enroll to do a course in agroecology because we want to reverse the adverse effect which these chemicals have done to our environment.
And by me studying agroecology, that will be a best way to disseminate information to farmers at large, because we start with the extension officers who are the students who are prepared for the field work, who later on are in touch with the farmers one-on-one.
And in terms of also livestock production, we are saying we use it in an organic way. We don't use these chemicals, for example, dipping, even deworming, because there are these trees which are naturally, when we use them, they can help us in terms of deworming, disease prevention, in terms of tick control. So this course, agroecology, we've got components, organic crop production, livestock production, and the main course itself, agroecology, which is looking at the environment and the people and the animal at large. We are looking at a sustainable food production, which is protecting the people and the environment. So that is what agroecology is looking at.
And we are also looking forward to having more partners who would come in and be able to sponsor students who would want to come through.
We have managed to introduce last year courses in organic agriculture in the different colleges for agriculture which we have in Zambia. And at the moment we are starting a project where we especially look with farm institute and farmer training centers, which are the so to say the base camps of the extension officers on the province and on the district level. So we see what do they need, what are the knowledge gaps to get the knowledge, to get the message out to the farmers. And then we will address these needs by producing special knowledge products.
If we're going to promote a transformative system, then there's a lot of changes that has to take place at all levels. So certainly at the farmer level, the farmers have to be educated on use of natural resources, and then also at the training institutions we have to include agroecology as opposed to an industrialized model, and then also policy makers then have to be more aware of the possibilities of agroecology as producing enough food.
This is the Charis field. The Charis project is a project where we've gone into the villages, we've gone around to pick people from the villages, those that are able to do agriculture but they do not have land. So Kasisi Agricultural Training Centre thought it wise that it can bring those people in at Kasisi Agricultural Training Centre, provide them with land so that they do their agriculture. Mostly our aim is to target the women and the widows and the old age, those that cannot find employment anywhere. So we pick them. Once they are picked, they are brought in the project, and then they are given a plot each of about 800 meters squared. We normally receive visitors from different places, those that want to learn about organic farming. For today, we had students from Ndeke Secondary School who just came to learn about organic farming, and it benefits a lot. It's not only the families that are in the Charis field, even those that want to learn, they also find their ways here, and we talk to them, we discuss with them the whole issue about agriculture, since Kasisi is a training center, so everyone is welcome to be trained.